There's smoke in the air in Santa Clara today. A rival might open an unexpected gap in the secondary. A redesigned contract is about to shake up the target hierarchy. A starting lineman reappears at the last possible moment, and the first divisional duel arrives with fresh tactical seasoning and the promise of heavy collisions. Where would you bet the key to the week lies? You won't believe what we've got today. So grab a seat, hit that like button, and let's dive straight into the news. Because there's a stalled negotiation, smart incentives, a return that changes protection, and a defensive plan ready to test every inch of the field. You know when two parallel lines seem destined to meet. That's how I see the convergence between the 49ers' need on the perimeter and Trent McDuffie's contract saga in Kansas City. The Chiefs picked up the fifth-year option, locking in control through 2026, but extension talks haven't moved. And when an elite corner heads into 2025 without a long-term commitment, the whole market pays attention, including Santa Clara. There's no offer on the table and no visit scheduled. What there is a cold read of the landscape, and that read points to a rare opportunity if the variables start breaking our way. Before anyone asks, is it worth it? Let's look at what McDuffie delivers. He's coming off the best year of his career. 2 interceptions, 13 passes defensed, 59 tackles, and constant impact as a pressure piece from the slot and the perimeter. After Lavarius Sneed's departure in 2024, he took over leadership of the Chiefs secondary without a dip in performance. In many systems, that's CB1 production. In ours, it would mean reorganizing the rotation, letting Diamador Lenoir choose matchups, giving the safeties freedom to disguise coverages, and restoring aggression to the coordinator's calls. And there's the timing factor. With Charvarius Ward leaving in free agency and the group still reshuffling roles, a top-of-the-market route eraser changes the ceiling in January. But good rumors have breaks too. The biggest one is cost. With the option already activated, Kansas City has no hurry and no incentive to tinker with its core early in the season. To pry an all-pro from a contender, the price tag is usually steep. A high draft pick, maybe 2, plus a young player on a rookie deal. And then there's the future bill. Any team trading for him has to swallow a top-of-market salary, immediately or very soon. It's not crazy to think of numbers that reshape the spreadsheet and force surgical cuts around the roster. Translation: this isn't a move to satisfy anxiety, it's a roster architecture decision. So why keep monitoring? Because schedule, injuries, and the chase for seeding change priorities. If talks remain frozen and something tightens the funnel, 2 windows become plausible. Around the trade deadline, when teams confront the reality of the standings, or early in 2026, when the contract issue returns to center stage. In those scenarios, the 49ers only jump in if the price matches the post-2024 replenishment plan and the cap engineering needed to fit premium pieces without suffocating the roster. It's the chess game that separates bold from reckless, and the fan base, part of it dreams of a title-level splash, another part waves the don't mortgage the picks flag. Both sides have a point. The technical fit is seductive, but draft capital and the salary cap always demand a toll. For now, the status is crystal clear. No public sign of an offer, visit, or negotiations between the 49ers and Chiefs. The buzz comes from the contractual stalemate in Kansas City, paired with a real need in Santa Clara. It's smoke worth watching, without confusing radar with reality. And that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. This is where the fan base goes into overdrive, because if the previous rumor was about strategic surveillance, now we're talking about a negotiation that already happened and directly touched locker room chemistry, Jauan Jennings' new deal. And trust me, this agreement has more layers than it seems. Jennings isn't a superstar, he's not a top 5 receiver in the league, but he's a third-down warrior, the guy who keeps drives alive when the ball is burning. And for a long time, he was getting paid like a bit player, pulling in around $7.5 million, far below his real impact. Compare him to the shelf of secondary wideouts who signed this offseason: Tutu Atwell, Diami Brown, Josh Palmer, all orbiting the $10 million per year range. If that's the going rate for players who don't always decide games, Jennings needed a reset. And that's exactly what the front office did. They didn't hand out a fat long-term contract, but they added incentives that can push the total to $10.5 million, putting him above that group. It's a clear message. If you produce, if you deliver, the reward comes. It's money, but it's also respect. And that respect matters in the locker room. From Jennings' side, the deal is gold. He enters motivated, with a chance to prove even more, and he already knows that 2026 could bring a $15 million per year offer if he repeats this level of consistency. From the franchise's side, it's double protection. You keep the player engaged right now, you ensure depth at receiver, while Ayuk is still recovering, and Pearsall hasn't proven everything, and at the same time, you don't tie up the future. Because at the end of the day, we all know the heavy contract is earmarked for Purdy and for keeping the spine of the roster together. Jennings can be vital right now, but he isn't untouchable. And the fans? Some are hyped, because they know Jennings is going to play on the edge, fighting for every yard like it's his last. Others are already a little melancholy, reading this agreement as a last dance, a sign that 2025 might be the goodbye to their favorite third-down receiver. The fact is, balance was achieved. The franchise gets flexibility and a motivated player. Jennings gets recognition and a showcase. A pure win-win, and maybe one of the smartest moves of this offseason. But hold up, because what comes next is even more unbelievable. If the Jennings deal tugged at the fan base's emotions, the next story is the kind that spikes your heart rate. The unexpected return of a starter who looked destined to miss time right out of the gate. If you watched the preseason game against the Raiders, you saw the scary scene. Dominic Puni down after an ugly collision to the knee, with real fear of a severe injury. In that first moment, a lot of people thought ACL, months out, yet another hole along the offensive line. But the plot twist came quickly. It was a PCL injury, serious but far less devastating. And against the most cautious projections, Puni was back at practice this week on the eve of the opener against Seattle. That changes the mood in Santa Clara. The O-line already had the unease of opening the year with Ben Bartch starting on the left side, and the idea of leaning on Connor Colby, a seventh-rounder, or Drew Moss, an undrafted rookie, in a divisional opener gave even the optimists the shivers. Now with Puni back, even on a limited basis, the picture changes completely. Having your starting guard available means stability for Brock Purdy, more comfort for Kyle Shanahan's playbook, and most importantly, fewer drives ruined by interior pressure. In a matchup that promises to be physical, having Puni is a quiet reinforcement, but an essential one. Of course, there's still caution. He returned on a controlled ramp-up. The staff could cap his early snaps, and the specter of a setback always exists. But even that can be strategic. Rotating Puni in key moments, avoiding early season overload, might be the key to keeping the line functional without exposing the rookies right away. There's also the psychological boost, seeing Puni back as fuel for his OL mates. It shows resilience. It shows this group won't fold in week one, not even after a scare like that. And the fans? A mix of relief and excitement. Plenty of comments on social say it's like landing a major reinforcement at the last minute, because at its core, that's exactly what it is. When it looked like 2025 would kick off with improvisation and risk, Puni's return restores confidence. And while we're freaking out over this unexpected gift, there's more. The next chapter isn't about recovery, it's about raw rivalry, tradition, tactical adjustments, and trench warfare. And you are not ready for what's coming. Count 742 words. Every divisional classic carries extra weight, but when it's 49ers versus Seahawks, it goes beyond the numbers. It's history, rivalry, a clash of styles, and 2025 opens with exactly that, duel loaded with new wrinkles. Seattle changed offensive coordinators, Grubb out, Clint Kubiak in. A name much more aligned with Shanahan's philosophy. That means more snaps under center, more running, more zone concepts. The very foundation of the 49ers' own offense. In other words, they're trying to win on our turf, copying the formula that made us a powerhouse. That puts extra spice on this meeting. Here's the twist. On the other sideline, Robert Saleh is back running the defense. If 2024 was a nightmare of missed tackles, timid blitzing, and predictability, the spirit now is entirely different. Saleh already flashed his aggressive DNA in the preseason. More disguises, more third down pressure, more coverage variety. He's restoring a standard that's been missing since DeMeco Ryans. That's vital because Seattle brings a rejuvenated offensive line, backs who run angry, and a clear intent to dominate physically. If San Francisco doesn't hit back with violence, the tide can turn early. On offense, McCaffrey's absence still echoes in the crowd's memory, but now the expectation is to rebuild red zone efficiency through scheme and multiplicity. The challenge: Seattle showed a scary appetite for the run in the preseason. 32 attempts for 170 yards in one game, 48 for 26 at 8 in another. Even against the Chiefs starters, that's not a fluke, it's an identity forming. Saleh's mission is crystal clear: choke those runs early, force Darnold into obvious passing downs, and then pounce on mistakes. Simple on paper, in the heat of this rivalry, every detail matters. Don't forget the individual battles. Nick Bosa versus Charles Cross and Abe Lucas is a heavyweight fight. Fred Warner and D. Winters trying to clamp down on short throws and the impact of the massive fullback Seattle rolled out. On the other side, Geno Smith was the most pressured quarterback in the league last year, and if the defensive plan can recreate that, turnovers can swing it. This is physical chess, where every piece has to execute perfectly. One slip and the Seahawks won't forgive you. So the mood is trench warfare. Shanahan knows every snap will count, that he can't waste drives with a patched-together OL, and that week one psychology can bite. But if Saleh's defense imposes respect from the opening series, if the coverage tweaks confuse Darnold, and if the offense finds ways to offset McCaffrey's absence, the message to the NFC West gets delivered right away. The 49ers remain the standard. Now here's my question for you. Who takes this first round of the rivalry, the renewed force in Seattle, or a more aggressive, sharper San Francisco? Time to tie together everything we tracked today. If this rundown made anything clear, it's that the 49ers aren't entering 2025 just to compete, they're here to send a message. Market rumors show the front office still has its eye on elite reinforcements, even if the cost is steep. The Jennings case proves there's room for smart deals where the present is rewarded without mortgaging the future. Puni's return is a massive relief for Purdy's protection, a sign of resilience right from the opener. And the Seattle Classic won't be just another game. It's a test of identity, both physical and mental. Now I want to hear from you. Which story moved your confidence the most? The McDuffy rumor, the Jennings rework, Puni's return, or the battle against Seattle? Drop a comment, smash that like, share the video, and subscribe, because together we're riding every emotion of this season to the very end.